Hello and welcome to the Doc Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike DeLuke, and it's my mission to help you lead a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life, both personally and professionally. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Mike, and I want to welcome you to today's episode of Motivational Mondays. Today's topic is going to be the blessing and the curse of perfectionism. It's no secret that us orthodontists are a unique breed. We're wired to succeed, and we have achieved at the highest levels most, if not all, of our lives. Whether it be academically, athletically, in our extracurricular activities, most of us have consistently been at the top of the food chain. And while it's truly a blessing to have such talents and abilities, it can also be a curse. Just think about the things we try to make perfect: our practice, our cases, our family, our lawn and yard, our cars, our appearance, the picture frames hanging on the walls in the office. Don't tell me I'm the only one. Our intent is admirable, but the outcome can be devastating if we aren't able to control ourselves. Bit of a personal story. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, I was kind of a chubby kid and I really didn't work that hard in school. I didn't like who I was becoming and I knew that I had more potential. So I went 180 degrees in the opposite direction. I lost a ton of weight, too much in fact, and worked to control everything in my life. I refused to go back to that chubby, rebellious kid of yesteryear. And while at first that might sound great, what if I told you that by 7th grade I'd been diagnosed with OCD and borderline anorexia? I went from 100 pounds to 75 pounds in 6 months and would only eat very particular foods. My school guidance counselor, Mrs. McKee, noticed something was wrong and brought my parents in to talk with them. She referred me to a psychologist and a nutritionist, and it truly did save my life. Who knows where I'd be today had she not intervened. So if you're out there, Mrs. McKee, thank you. By the grace of God, I got better. And by the end of 8th grade, I was actually doing great. And I'd started to really figure out my limits. And as difficult of a time as that was for my family and me, it really helped shape me and make me who I am today. See, it helped me learn my limits, my guardrails. And we'll talk more about this in next Monday's message. But my drive for perfection hasn't waned. I've just learned how to do a better job controlling it, and those experiences helped. In fact, finding the balance between achieving as ideal of an outcome as possible and going down a rabbit hole chasing perfection has been and continues to be a challenge. Psychologists have actually described this, and they term this the difference between healthy perfectionism and maladaptive perfectionism. Healthy perfectionists challenge themselves and learn from their failure, but they stay engaged in the activity. Maladaptive perfectionists, on the other hand, set extremely high and unrealistic goals, and when they fail, they either become obsessed with attaining the goal or avoid the activity altogether. They experience higher levels of anxiety and depression, increased risk of suicide, eating disorders, lower resistance to challenges and adversity, hypersensitivity to criticism and judgment, and lower overall levels of satisfaction. They don't stop to smell the roses. They're so goal-driven that they constantly see the need to achieve bigger and better things and never take the time to reflect on the tremendous amount that they have accomplished. As I mentioned, it's been a lifelong struggle for me to walk the line between healthy and maladaptive perfectionism. I know from talking with many colleagues that a lot of you struggle with this same thing. I'm convinced that's why the daily struggles of my practice took so much out of me. And it actually, if I admit it, may be why I couldn't find an associate to join me in practice. But ironically, I wouldn't be where I am today if I weren't a perfectionist. It's the reason why I achieved the highest levels academically and athletically throughout my life. It's how I built and ran such a successful orthodontic practice. And it's how my wife and I went from being $250,000 in combined student loan debt and having zero in assets in the early 2000s to achieving financial freedom less than 20 years later in our mid-40s, allowing us to retire and affording me the opportunity to spend the remainder of my career teaching my colleagues how to find success and happiness in their lives. As I said, it's a blessing and a curse. So take some time this week to think about if you're a healthy or a maladaptive perfectionist. If you're the former, keep working to stay in that sweet spot. If you're the latter, I encourage you to talk to someone if you're struggling, whether it's a family member, a friend, or a professional. It's okay to acknowledge your failures and shortcomings. Everybody has them. And as we'll talk more about next week, these failures and shortcomings are just as much a part of your success as your successes, if not more. Don't be so hard on yourself. You have achieved and will continue to achieve amazing things. You are more highly educated than 99.9% of the population, and you're in the top 1% most likely of wage earners in the country. You also get to improve the quality of people's lives each and every day with your own two hands. It's important to keep all that in mind when you feel like things aren't going as you had maybe hoped or planned. So have a great week, everyone, and remember, you have been blessed with the ability to do great things. Thank you for watching this episode of the Doc Podcast. Be sure to visit theorthocoach.com to get access to CE courses or schedule a private one-on-one coaching session with me. And remember to join the Doc community on Locals for more great content designed to help you succeed both personally and professionally. Just go to Locals and search for the Doc community. You can also find Doc on Instagram at @theorthocoach. And remember, you have the power to do amazing things.